Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle and this is Danielle's Books. Thanks for stopping by. So this video is going to be, I read 4 new release thrillers, 2023 thrillers. And so this is kind of going to be set up as like a recent reads, and I'm going to talk about those 4 thrillers. You would have seen them all in the thumbnail. We have The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. We have Everyone Here is Lying by Shari Lapena. Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister, and What Remains by Wendy Walker. So I read those 4 books recently and I have thoughts on all of them. So if you're interested in my review on any of those, stick around. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel because I would love to have you. And just off the top, I'm going to do a little bit of like housekeeping news. I mentioned this in my last video, but you know, I'm going to mention it again. The Everyone Here is Lying by Shari Lapena was our book club pick for September, so there's going to be a podcast episode dedicated to this book with Zach and I talking about it. It'll be spoiler free, and then we'll get into spoilers. It'll be a whole deep dive, so that should be coming in the next couple days. And then I wanted to mention what the October pick is, and that is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. The podcast is always linked down below. Go check it out. Also, an upcoming episode is going to be our birth story. It is not going to be a bookish episode, but we have had interest in that. So we're definitely going to do an episode on that. It's either going to be a bonus episode or it'll be a Monday episode, but fair warning, it won't be bookish, but we've had a lot of requests for that. So that'll be coming soon too, but this is the October pick and we're very excited about it. So I think I'm going to start with The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. I had a library copy of this. I read all of these physically and with audiobook. And this is the one I read a little bit ago, like at the very end of August or beginning of September. And I had to return my copy. So that's the only one I won't have a physical copy to hold up for. But I really wanted to read this book. It was one of my most anticipated books of the year. I consider Catherine Ryan Howard to be probably my favorite female author, although another one of these over here is definitely a contender for that as well. So this was one of my most anticipated books of the year. And so in this one, by the way, over here is my laptop, and I took notes on all of these books just because I was in my 9th month of pregnancy and I didn't want to forget anything because I knew I was going to film this video. And so I just wanted to take some notes. So if I'm looking over here, that's what I'm looking at. So The Trap, we're following Lucy, whose sister went missing a little over a year ago, and her sister's name is Nikki. She's the 3rd girl who went missing in this Dublin town under similar circumstances. Basically, like each victim's cell phone was found at the site where they went missing. So a whole string of disappearances, and that created Operation Tide, which was what people referred to this string of disappearances as. So Lucy, things have kind of, now a year later, have kind of like died down in the search for her sister, but obviously she hasn't given up hope, so much so that she's willing to basically put her own life at stake to figure out what happened to her, set up a trap, if you will, you know, the trap. And I really, really liked this book. I'll say we're following multiple different perspectives. We have Lucy's perspective, who's our main protagonist, and then we also have the detective's perspective, which we're following 2. Well, technically we're following the main detective, who is Denise, and then someone who works in the missing persons unit at this Irish police force. She is her like right-hand man, basically. And so we're following their perspective. And I wasn't sure I was going to be into that, but I really liked those 2 quite a bit. I had liked all the characters in this book, actually. And then the other perspective we're following is our killer's perspective. He's nameless. We don't really know anything about him, but his perspective was a lot of fun because he basically details, he has someone in his trunk and he's kind of going over like how he chooses who his next target is going to be, what he does, how he gets away with what he does. And it was really creepy, and I really, really enjoyed that perspective quite a bit. And I liked our main character, Lucy. She does do some like stupid shit, I'm not gonna lie, but she was likable enough that I was, you know, she kept me interested in the whole story. And then I will say that if you liked The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard, you would probably like this one because they're pretty similar. And actually, The Nothing Man is like name dropped in this book, which I thought was fun. The Nothing Man is my favorite book by her. I think I still like The Nothing Man a little bit more than The Trap. I don't know. It's pretty close. I gave this book 4 stars, and I really, really enjoyed it. So if all of that sounds interesting to you, I highly, highly recommend this book. This is my 4th Catherine Ryan Howard book, and I guess I'll give you like a little ranking of them right now. So we have The Nothing Man, we have The Trap, and then we have Runtime, which was her last year release, and then we have 56 Days. I liked all of them, and they were all 4 stars or higher for me, but that would be my ranking of her books. And yeah, I think The Trap was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the ending. It was very twisty. Some things were like a little bit predictable, but it wasn't in a way that was unsatisfying. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one, and I gave that one 4 stars. All right, next up we're going to talk about What Remains by Wendy Walker. And this one was definitely the most surprising pick out of these 4 books. If you saw, I occasionally do monthly release videos where I talk about you know, the releases for that month. And I usually, the way that I like to do it is I talk about a whole bunch of them, and I mention ones that I might not be super interested in, but I think that maybe someone else might be. So I usually like to mention it. Now, this book I did mention in a release video, and I remember this so much because this cover does absolutely nothing for me. I've never read anything by this author, and I remember saying in that release video, like, this is not one that I'm interested in, and I probably won't read this book, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I read this book. I had a ALC, advanced listening copy, through Libro, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. I'll get it from the library, and we'll give it a go. It wasn't super long or anything, and holy crap, this book really surprised me. I loved this book. So this one we're following Elise. She's our main character. She's a detective who takes one life to save another. So basically she's like going to pick up towels for her daughter or something at the store like late one night. And while she's in the store, there's 2 men who one is being held at gunpoint, and she is off duty. She is a cop, and she basically is like, I need to save this man. She ends up shooting the guy who's holding the gun and saving this other man's life. So naturally, this ends up taking over all of her thoughts and world, because she's left wondering, A, did I need to kill that person? B, who's the person whose life I just saved? And she is basically like wanting to get in contact with the person whose life she just saved, because she's like, wants these questions answered, like what was going on, who was that guy who had you at gunpoint, and she just wants to get more details. So she's driving herself crazy, knowing that she just killed someone and hoping that it was like for a legit reason, basically. She ends up being dubbed a hero in her community, but she's not really feeling like one, because like I said, all these thoughts are like taking over her head and everything. Eventually, she does meet up with the person whose life she saved, Wade Austin. That's his name. And he kind of lures her into a part of town, and basically they get to talking, and they end up forming like kind of like a bond, like within like the first little bit of them talking. But then things get a little weird, and he's basically a psycho stalker, and Elise now feels for the life of her for her life and for everyone around her. And I really, really, really enjoyed this book. This guy, Wade Austin, who is, like I said, the life she saved, he's creepy. And I just thought that this book went in, you know, satisfying direction. I really liked the ending a lot. And I really liked following these characters in this book too. This one was just a really satisfying read. It went by, I flew through this book. I wanted to know what was going to happen. And yeah, I was talking with the author actually on Instagram about this because I was like, girl, I'm like really liking your book. I've never read anything by you before, but this one is really hitting the spot for me. I really, really, really recommend this book. Like I said, if you're wanting something fast, this is definitely it. And I will say there's two different storylines. One of them is a little bit confusing, and because you're following basically, or you're in this like totally different location, and it's like, I can't remember what it's called, but like a lot of like killings have happened there, and you're basically waiting until these two storylines will come together basically, and see like how they will and everything. So one storyline was a little confusing until you get further on into the book, but that was really the only critique I had. I gave this book 4 stars. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. So there you have What Remains by Wendy Walker. All right, next up I have Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. Now, she's the author of Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which I know was a super popular release last year. I did not personally read that. I would maybe still be interested in it, maybe. This review is going to be probably short, but I hated this book. Absolutely hated it. I gave it 2 stars, or I'm giving it 2 stars. The problem I had with this was that I just had absolutely no interest in the story. This book should have taken me just a couple days to get through, and I just never wanted to pick it back up, which obviously you're probably saying, well, why didn't you DNF it? Good question. Fair question. I contemplated it multiple times. I am not someone who DNFs very frequently. I don't know. I just like to see it through just in case I'm wrong, which is not a great mindset. If I'm hating a book, I should just get rid of it. This one we're following Julia, who's a detective, and she's heading a missing persons case. It's an interesting case because the missing girl walked down like an alleyway with a dead end, and she just disappeared. They looked on like footage, and they checked for any like doors or cracks or anything down this alleyway, and they found nothing. So the whole thing is a little weird. And also Julia, her daughter Genevieve was, or this is another like part of the story, Julia's daughter Genevieve was mugged previously, and in self-defense she kind of stabbed him with her keys, and a few days later he wound up dead. So her being a detective, she was also the head of that case. Not, her daughter wasn't like part of the case. She was heading the case for the person she killed though, and she wrapped it up super quick because she didn't want obviously anything to trace back to her daughter being the one who actually did it or anything. This is definitely a like, how far would you go to protect someone you love thriller. Well, someone knows what happened to that guy who wound up dead. Obviously that her daughter was part of the reason, and this person is basically using that against Julia and is wanting her to basically like corrupt the current case that she's working on. Or wants to blackmail her. And so basically Julia is obviously like not on board with this originally, because she's like, I am not gonna do this. Like, I need to do my job the right way and everything. But obviously, like I said, how far would you go to protect your daughter? Like, he's saying that he's gonna, you know, put her daughter on blast basically. And so she ends up doing it. I hated this book. There's too many perspectives. I did not get attached to any of these characters. I'm a character driven person. If I like the characters, then there's a good chance I'm gonna like the book, obviously. But if I'm not interested in the characters in the book, then I have no interest. This book was also kind of confusing, because I don't know. I can't really get into why it was confusing because that would spoil the book, but just know it wasn't a very, it was just confusing. And the ending, there was not good payoff. And I thought this book was too long. It was, let me see how long it was, which is funny because it's really not that long. It's a little over like 350 pages, but I just thought that it was slow. Like there was a lot of stuff in here that didn't need to be in here. And so I hated this book. I thought for a while it was going to be like a 3-star book, but it is a 2-star book, and that might even be generous, honestly. But like I said, I do still want to read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by this author just because I've heard such good things. But yeah, this book was quite literally a miss for me, which is unfortunate because I don't like to shit talk books, but yeah, this one didn't work for me. Let me know if this book worked for you, or let me know your thoughts on any of these books I'm talking about because I would love to hear them. Even if we differ, let me know. But yeah, unfortunately, this one was a miss for me. I was sent this by the publisher too, which was nice because I got it for free. But also, yeah, then, obviously they want a review back, and this one just didn't cut it for me. So I'm going to leave it at that. There you have Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. All right, next up, or last up, we have Everyone Here is Lying by Shari Lapena. Like I said, this one was our book club pick, so I'm not going to talk so in depth about this one because we're doing a whole podcast episode dedicated to this book. But I obviously wanted to feature it in this video because it's a new release thriller, and that is what this video is. So this is my 4th book by Shari Lapena, I believe. I've read, oh geez, now I'm gonna have to remember them. I read The Couple Next Door, the winter one, it's red. They're like stuck, it's snowing, they're stuck in like a place and people get picked off. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting that title. And then the other one is Not a Happy Family. And then this one. I'll rank the 4 at the end of this, like I did for the Catherine Ryan Howard as well. Anyway, this book. So this one basically starts off with this father, William, who is having an affair, and the affair ends like abruptly. He is like not seeing that coming whatsoever. This is literally like the first couple pages of the book. So he is like pissed off. Obviously, he's sulking. He goes home. He's not expecting anyone to be at home, obviously, and people aren't expecting him to be at home either. And when he gets home, his daughter is there. She's definitely a difficult child. She's a troubled child. She's very independent. She's very sassy. She's just a hard one. And he sees her there, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" Basically. And they get into a tiff, and he basically like totally slaps the shit out of her. And he ends up leaving the house. She ends up leaving, and when he gets back home, the cops are there. She's declared missing, and obviously he is not being honest about what happened. The cops are obviously wondering, like, why was your daughter home when she wasn't supposed to be? She was supposed to be at choir practice, but she got sent home early because she was like misbehaving or something. And he obviously was like, no, I wasn't home, like this, that, and the next thing. He's obviously like lying about it. Everyone Here is Lying. This is a classic like neighborhood thriller. I feel like this is a very Shari Lapena book. I will say one of my critiques of this book, there are a lot of characters to follow in this book. You're basically following a neighborhood. So we have this family of 4, William's family, so his wife and his 2 kids. We're also like following his like lover's family, which is another family of 4, a mom, a dad, a son and daughter, and then we're following a bunch of different neighbors. We're following like 3 different detectives and cops and everything. There's a lot of people to keep track of, and honestly, that was like the hardest part at the beginning. Like, obviously, once you get used to the characters, then you'll pick up on it. But that was that's my biggest critique, is that there were just so many people to follow. But I had a lot of fun with this book. This is another missing persons book, which honestly I didn't realize. I just read so many of them, back to back to back. And also, I should say that his daughter was 9 years old. I think that's an important fact, because some people, I think, would probably say that this book is like a little over the top, because this daughter is literally 9 years old, and she's like, the super like cranky, sassy girl, and you probably find her annoying. So I will say that. But I was really invested in this. I flew through this book in terms of like every time I got to pick it up and read it, I flew through it. It just still took me a few days to read this book because I have a baby to take care of. So I couldn't just sit down and read this, straight through. I will say that this book is my, I don't know, it's hard. I think that this is my favorite Shari Lapena book, although I really, really liked Not a Happy Family by her as well. I've liked a lot of her books too. She's another one of my favorite female thriller authors. That's what I said at like the top of the video when I was talking about Catherine Ryan Howard. If I were to rank the 4 books, like I said I would, this one would be my favorite, Not a Happy Family, and then the snowy one that I can't think of the name of, and then I was trying to see if I could find it on my shelf over there, and then The Couple Next Door is at the bottom. But I liked all of them. So I would say also, if you're someone who's new to thrillers or wanting to get into thrillers, she's a great place to start, because her books are never very complicated. They're really fast moving, and they're just like a basic story. So check out the podcast, because we're going to go fully in depth in this, or about this book, because Zach and I have some thoughts, and there's a particular book that we think that this book really, really mimics, kind of, but it's like very similar ties to a different book. And so we are going to talk all about that in the podcast episode. And it's going to be an interesting conversation, but I really, really loved this book. I recommend it so much. And yeah, I hope that you pick it up as well. All of these books that I talked about, by the way, are going to be linked down below. I didn't mention that at the top of the video, but I'll link them all down below. And yeah, let me know your thoughts about any of these if you read them, because I would love to know. And let me know some of your favorite thrillers that maybe you've read recently, or some other, what's been your favorite thriller release for the year? Maybe tell me that, and I'll read some of those in a video together, or I'll just check them out when I have the time to. But yeah, my last video was my October TBR. If you want to check that out, I'll link it up here or somewhere within this video, so you can see what I'm hoping to read this coming month. But yeah, with that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because I would love to have you. Don't forget to check out everything linked down below. Like I said, these books will be the podcast, Bookstagram, Goodreads, and Storygraph are always linked down there, and Zach's channel is always linked down there too. So with that, I will see you in the next one, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.